Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to my channel where we talk about all things motherhood, spirituality, and wellness. And today I wanted to talk to all the mamas today about postpartum health. We all know how important this is, and unfortunately, the way that the healthcare system is set up here in the United States, the support that's needed for women after birth is nearly non-existent, which is kind of unfortunate. So today I just wanted to present to you how you can address that on a physical, emotional, and spiritual level. But before we dive into those, I want to really just reiterate why it's important for women to restore ourselves once we go through this amazing journey of giving birth. So let's talk about the physical aspect of nourishing yourself after giving birth. Now, foods are a great way. It's kind of necessary. I mean, especially if you are breastfeeding, you are supplying food for another human being. So making sure that you are providing nourishment for yourself, you're then in part making sure that your little one is getting sufficient nutrients. I know in certain cultures, they like to provide women with warming foods. And this helps not only with the recovery of, the abdomen area after birth, but this is also just nourishes your soul essentially. And the warming foods in herbalism, they teach that these warming components can activate certain components of a food or plant substance. So making sure you're getting those nourishing and warm foods. Warm is important because I know mothers, how sometimes we can just go through and, eat cold meals as they are, but treat yourself. Make sure you're warming your foods. Your body will appreciate it as well. So what do these foods look like for postpartum nourishment? You do want to have an emphasis on foods that are high in fats. Honestly, you might be craving fats if you are breastfeeding. And this is important. Why do we need fats? I talk about this a lot on my personal Instagram anyway. How fats, there was this propaganda in the late, between the 1970s, 80s, and 90s about how fat was just terrible for you. Get reduced fat, have no fat. And then they came up with all these alternatives. There's trans fat, saturated, all these synthetic sources of fat. But on a mechanical and molecular level, fats play a crucial role in the body, especially during this time, when your hormones are now, during birth and pregnancy. Now, birth, there's a roller coaster that goes on within your hormones and the endocrine system with the rise and fall of progesterone and oxytocin and estrogen, testosterone. They all are doing this dance. And I say dance lightly because for some it might just feel like an emotional wreck. And this is why fats are so important, because fats, they help bind those hormonal receptors properly and make sure that they are being transported where they need to be within the body. So making sure you're getting sufficient fat, not any kind of fat. These need to be the closer to a wholesome source the fat is, the better for you. So this could be fish, flax oil, olive oil, avocado oil, ghee, broth. Broth is amazing postpartum. So sourcing these healthy fats, nuts. How could I forget nuts? Nuts, avocado. There's so many healthy sources of fat. So making sure you're getting that is crucial, not only for your physical, but this also taps into your mental as well, as fats feed the brain. Another key source of food that you do want to be mindful of, two other ones. So of course, anti-inflammatory foods, and this will cross over to anti-inflammatory and antioxidant rich foods, and this will just help in regards to your restoring recovery process postpartum, right? Because these compounds help with the tissues forming together in a wholesome and tonified way. So these foods that are rich in antioxidants and anti-inflammatory foods include turmeric. Turmeric is powerful. Now make sure if you are going to include turmeric in your food preparations or herbal teas, however you're going to do so. Make sure you incorporate black pepper. Studies have shown that incorporating black pepper and a fat. This is black, yes, okay. So incorporating black pepper and fat, this is the trifecta to make sure that your body is absorbing all of the compounds within turmeric root. Ginger, your berries, foods that are rich and dark in the reds and the purple and the oranges. They have all these different compounds, the anthocyanins, the polyphenols, all of these antioxidants, which help your body thrive and recover by reducing, the oxidative stress within your body. Lastly, in the food department and physical nourishment is allow yourself an unlimited quota of vegetables. Why is this important? Now, postpartum, you know how it is with the bowels. The bowel flow can be rough. And to ensure that it's not painful, especially if you've had, an episiotomy procedure postpartum, this is really important. So that way nothing ruptures. Even if you are a C-section, if you had a C-section birth, this is important too. So vegetables they add that fiber component within your intestinal tract, which helps you do fiber does a lot. Firstly, it helps you absorb compounds within food more effectively. And because of that, you're just going to expel. The flow of exhalation is going to be much more smooth. So that is that's the last thing. And also too, so vegetables, they also provide the prebiotic fibers to your digestive system, which help in combination with probiotics, they help with establishing a healthy gut flora, not only for you, but for your baby. I talked about this in a podcast episode. I'll link it in the description box. Scientists once thought that speaking of babies, my baby's up, hold on. So as I was saying, scientists once believed that in the womb, babies are these little perfect, precious beings. They are precious, but they're not pristine in the womb. They actually found out later on that babies actually have their own bacteria going on in the womb, and they actually start developing their own microbiome really, really early on in conception, which is so cool. Excuse the truck outside. They're picking up yard debris. So that's another reason why, your physical nourishment is also important. So that way your little one can start to establish a pretty solid microbiome, which will help their health in the long run. Now, mentally, I know mentally it can be rough. I understand, as someone who's gone through postpartum depression, there's just so much that goes on mentally. Our brains physically change. The gray matter structure within our brains change during pregnancy. So for you to have a shift in your mental state is normal. So firstly, to help with this process of change postpartum, we have to release any and all expectations that we have after giving birth. Sometimes we can be our own worst critic, especially as mothers. You want to provide the best for your kids. However, there are just some instances where you can't control everything. So just releasing that control and those expectations that you have on yourself will help tremendously. How do you release that? There are so many ways that you can release emotion and, a set mindset or outcome that you've expected. Journaling is a great tool. Talking to a therapist is a great one, or even your loved one, your significant other, expressing what's on your mind, how you're feeling, what's going on. For me personally, I love to tap into the elements. So I love to release emotions and expectations utilizing especially fire. So candle magic for me, that's just my avenue. Or even bonfires, which, fire represents the renewal and rebirth. So those are a few tools that you can utilize. I know I mentioned earlier in this video that the structures that we have in place for postpartum support are they're not up to par. However, this should not deter us from coming together as women to support one another. So finding small support groups within your community will really help. In saying that, please avoid the toxic mom groups on Facebook. You guys know what I'm talking about. Don't join those groups where women go on to bash and bring negativity into one space. It's not okay. I understand, you want to express your emotions, but in that manner, it's just a little bit toxic. So finding a supportive group in your area, that way, you're getting to know the local moms and other women in your community as well. So that way you can show up for them as well as a support system. The systematical get together. Postpartum doulas are also great. So there are some postpartum doulas and midwives as well, but doulas especially, they're just there for the support in your postpartum recovery. Of course, there are also, pregnancy doulas, but we're talking about postpartum nourishment. So postpartum doulas, there are some that offer an array of services. So some of them will actually cook for you and do, just small household things that you may need assistance on to help you in your recovery, which, just having someone provide meals for you is just a mental, something you don't have to think about. I know for me, I use spreadsheets to get our meals together. And sometimes just looking at a spreadsheet is a little bit, I'm like, I can do this later. This does not have to happen now. So having someone to do that for you, not only any meals, but like healthy, wholesome meals that'll nourish you and your little ones, is great. So the spiritual components of postpartum nourishment. First of all, I want to give you permission to congratulate yourself, pat yourself on the back, do a dance, have some sort of celebration, either with yourself or with your loved ones, because birth is a spiritual experience all on its own. I really feel like us as women, we just come out of that whole experience as a whole new woman every single time, really, every single time. So give yourself some credit for what you have done, birthing a living being into this amazing world that we're living in. So yeah, give yourself some credit. Also, so managing how you feel and your expressions and your emotions on a mental level will also help your spiritual life as well. So that way there's some clarity. I know energetically, on an energetic level, having those blocks in your energy points can feel, you'll feel it, right? So making sure you're expressing that will help. With your general flow of chi within your body will flow much more smooth by managing your emotions. And then lastly, on the spiritual component, energetic protection. I cannot emphasize this enough. During pregnancy, women, there's so much that goes on energetically. And I'll share an experience. I don't know if I shared it. I think I shared it in the previous video. I'll link it or put it up here. But, energetically, there's so much going on just because it's not only your energy, but you're also bringing in this energy of a human being. So I know in an African context, shortly after giving birth, we have these certain rituals in place for just welcoming the baby into this realm. So these include, especially on the spiritual aspect, spiritual baths. So bathing not only for yourself, but for your little one is really, really crucial. So these baths, and I'll put recipes in the bottom in the description box. You want to make sure you're using organic or homegrown herbs, so that way you're reducing the amount of toxin exposure for your little one. And then this could be a simple, you can use salts, you can use milk, oatmeal, things, substances and herbs that are gentle on your little one's skin would be most beneficial. That was a long video, but I hope you really got some very vital information in this video to help you. Mama, you're doing great. You're doing amazing in all that you are, and raising, we're literally raising the future. This is not to put, pressure on our children, or on yourselves, but it's an amazing job. So yeah, I hope this information helps. Let me know in the comments any of these tips that you are incorporating, or if there are any topics you want me to expound upon in this video. And on that note, I'll check you guys in another one. Bye for now.